gamers, welcome back to our channel. This is Jesus from Jesus Gaming and Podcast. Today we got some major gaming industry news to discuss, and it happened. The Microsoft purchase of Activision Blizzard, Activision Blizzard King, Activision Blizzard Entertainment and King Company, whatever you want to call it. This deal shook the gaming world and has far-reaching implications for gamers, developers, and the industry as a whole. In this video, we'll break down the key takeaways from this massive acquisition. So if you're excited as we are, hit that like button, subscribe to stay updated, and let's dive right in. First and foremost, the numbers are staggering. Microsoft shelled out a jaw-dropping $68.7 billion to acquire Activision Blizzard. This makes it one of the largest acquisitions in the tech and gaming industry ever, and if I dare to say, a historical investment by Microsoft. Heck, not even for this true baby, the Windows operating system and even the now big hero cloud computing solution Azure has ever seen such a big single investment, and with this, the purchase include big names like Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Diablo, Spyro, Crash Bandicoot. In a side note, he was original mascot for the early years of PlayStation, by the way, StarCraft, Tony Hawk Games, and more. This is a strategic move for Microsoft to boost its presence in the gaming world. I would like to add on the investment point that not every Microsoft investor were convinced actually. Even today, they saw this much money for a business that has not been a principle for Microsoft since the early 2000s, and there's a big noise in the industry that they are going to demand Microsoft to have some high goals and requirements for the new subsidiary. Yes, a subsidiary because Activision Blizzard will not join the Xbox Game Studio or fall within the Microsoft gaming business and Xbox like it was the case of Bethesda, and will retain some independence and operating while reporting to Microsoft Gaming. That was the mega deal. Let's talk about the implications for Xbox Game Studio's growth. And Microsoft already has Xbox Game Studio, but this acquisition is a game changer. With Activision Blizzard's impressive roster of game franchise, Xbox Game Studio now has a powerhouse of IPs or intellectual property to work with. Gamers can expect more exclusive, more content, and potentially a more competitive edge against Sony PlayStation, which is no secret that that was the main goal here for Microsoft. Now we can talk about the Xbox Game Pass, its expansion, and cloud gaming. Another significant takeaway is the impact on the Xbox Game Pass. This subscription service is often dubbed as the Netflix of gaming. With Activision Blizzard's game now under the Microsoft umbrella, we can expect even more AAA titles added to the service, and this is fantastic news for subscribers as they get access to some of the most iconic gaming franchises for a fixed monthly fee, and there is a big hope that World of Warcraft will gain new life thanks to Game Pass actually. Talking about Xbox Game Pass, Microsoft has been pushing the envelope in cloud gaming based on the high availability of Xbox X-like service, with the previous project known as Project X Cloud, now Xbox Game Pass Cloud. It was already built up with perpetual games with the addition of Bethesda between 2021 and 2022. Now with the addition of Activision Blizzard, they can further expand their cloud gaming services. Cross-platform playing could also see some improvements, providing a seamless gaming experience across various devices. Although Activision Blizzard also already warned before closing the transaction that recent games including Diablo 4 and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Remake will not land immediately to Game Pass, even now being part of Microsoft and Xbox. Pretty much this can be the jump to talk about the sides of concerns and regulation. Of course, with such a massive acquisition, concerns about anti-competitive behavior and monopoly arise, and it did. While surprisingly, the Department of Justice in the United States decided not to calling out the transaction, the Federal Trade Commission officially went against it by December 2022, in moments where Microsoft was answering concerns from the European Union Commission, and was rumored that the UK CMA, a local regulator in the United Kingdom, were about to also object the transaction. After the CMA hold a rejection, an appeal was listed by the CTA. A United Kingdom arbiter that can actually overrule the CMA was already convinced that the CMA held on some wrong rationales and data on having the transaction to be called to be banned, and decided that parts need to deal things out or let that appeal full processing go forward. During the summer of 2023, eyes were back at the United States scene, where the Federal Trade Commission requested a preliminary injunction to the North Carolina Court District, and after a marathonic 2-week sessions, the injunction was rejected. The too long no read of the rejection is that the reach of the court was narrowed when Microsoft already did their homework of minimizing the unfair impact of competition with multiple 10-year deals of Call of Duty and other Activision Blizzard games available on other platforms, including Nintendo. The Federal Trade Commission did not show a likelihood it will prevail and just called this transaction a vertical merger, which is a pretty big boogeyman historically to the FTC. Vertical merger is known when companies are going to merge, but they are not necessarily competitors in the same markets, and this was how AT&T a few years ago could actually pull off buying Warner Media some years ago, despite the machinery of the Department of Justice was against it. Now be aware that even with this and that Microsoft and Activision Blizzard has closed the transaction, the Federal Trade Commission still got choices to continue despite the deal closure, like a major lawsuit to disrupt the acquisition or looking to make a fine to Microsoft. But the FTC have already tried this on the past Meta acquisition of a VR studio for Oculus, so chances are low for the FTC to succeed in a short term of time. If any luck in the side of the FTC, they can legally obligate Microsoft to divestiture Activision Blizzard, but not before of years of litigation, and it remains to see if the FTC can keep up with this. Having said all that, we go with the takeaway on the impact on Nintendo and PlayStation, which raises the question, what about the competition? Well, Microsoft did some work before the CMA, FTC, and other regulators worldwide could have an opportunity to scale how the impact of the disappearance of a gaming conglomerate like Activision Blizzard could do, especially popular games like Call of Duty as a big differentiator. Basically, Microsoft always defended that the reason behind the purchase was not AAA game status or having Xbox more curated just because of it, but to improve Xbox and Microsoft reaching the mobile gaming and all the developer King has achieved with the games like Candy Rush Saga, so they didn't have no problem signing multiple 10-year deals of complete availability of Activision Blizzard game, especially Call of Duty on cloud gaming platforms, including Nvidia's GeForce Now's Boosteroids, Nintendo's Steam, and yes, even PlayStation. The PlayStation case was one particularly hard, as Sony originally rejected to sign because they didn't want the deal to go through, period. For years, PlayStation and Activision had a platform-focused deal where some Call of Duty newest features on newest game will be PlayStation Time exclusive, and that's something Sony did not want it to end and wanted to protect at all costs, and felt that Microsoft would just not simply comply. Things escalated to the point where Sony Interactive Entertainment, or PlayStation parent company CEO Jim Ryan, led a failed lobbying in Washington, D.C. that actually backfired when lawmakers actually called out PlayStation on being on the wrong side of things and blamed PlayStation on Xbox failures to capitalize on the Japanese market since 2001. After the conclusion of the preliminary injunction of the FTC and ultimately failing to do so, PlayStation quietly decided to sign for the deal. And this will bring us to the final takeaway, and I will call it the evil cliffhanger ending. One final point that I want to lay out is the forgotten genesis of the transaction at the very same beginning, and maybe the solid part of all of this. The transaction did not come completely out of an opportunity taken by Microsoft at a 100%, but the opportunity was created because Bobby Kotick, as CEO of Activision Blizzard, was facing a massive workplace crisis, including a toxic and sexualized environment that was already heard and dealt with regulators, and seems that Kotick's only escape was to sell the company, which he finally did. With this, Bobby Kotick will remain as the head of Activision Blizzard, reporting directly to Phil Spencer until the end of 2023, and by 2024, he will have a multi-million parachute bonus, retiring the sunset, and probably not answering for the things he knew and did as part of the workplace scandals as CEO, like a real gaming villain in a cliffhanger ending of a game. In conclusion, the Microsoft purchase of Activision Blizzard is a game changer for the industry. It could lead to more exclusive content, a broader game library for Xbox Game Pass, and a potential shift in balance of powers among gaming platforms. but it also raises concern about competition or regulation regardless of everything that has transpired, and of course the sour Bobby Kotick exiting the gaming industry. What do you think about this acquisition? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you found this video very informative, don't forget to give the thumbs up and subscribe for more gaming news and analysis. This was Jesus of Jesus Gaming and Podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one. Health and success!